this?
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your, finished a few games host, Madelyn.
I'm your other host, Emma.
I'm your played nothing but Trails of Cold Steel host. Played 5 games worth of Trails of Cold Steel host, Emma.
I have more games to talk about than just Trails of Cold Steel, I promise.
I believe you. Will we even get to them? In hour 4,
I don't know.
Emma talks about her other games. This week, listeners, it's the end of another 6 weeks. 6 weeks have gone by again. 3 fortnights. Can you believe it? And we're here to talk about basically the games that we've been playing in these first 6 months of the year. 6 months of the year? These first 6 weeks
Madelyn.
of the year. Oh boy.
You fast forwarded there.
I'm ready for spring. The snow just doesn't stop coming.
I don't know, when it's spring, I'm going to have to switch up my fluffy sweatpants life to something else easy to put on at 6:30 in the morning to take my dog outside.
Just transition to normal sweatpants.
But when it's spring and it's like 80s...
So like, get to the 80s in the spring in Boston?
It's the city, I don't know. Probably.
I
mean, it's not spring for very long.
Here's the
Spring for
gaming
like a
wardrobe.
week.
Fluffy sweatpants in the winter. Ordinary sweatpants in the spring. Athletic shorts in the summer. Back to ordinary sweatpants in the fall.
Sure.
That's what I'll be doing until this never-ending viral crusade is over. By which I mean my pursuit for going viral. Not the obvious.
Yeah. Sure.
So it'll never be over. Anyway, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. So, Emma, who goes first this fine Valentine's Day?
I don't know. How many games do you have to talk about?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. 5 whole games.
You go first, then.
Okay. Then I'll talk about first my first finish of the year, which you may remember from one of our podcast episodes. That's right, folks. It's Carrion. Against all odds, my first finish of the year. Carrion. Who would have thought?
Not me.
A game that I almost decided this will be another podcast where I don't play any of the games. Instead was my first finish of 2021. My opinion that I said in the podcast, so my opinion is more or less the same. The game needs a map. I probably would have done a lot more going back and exploring and trying to find all the little extra pods. If I hadn't learned about a third of the way in that veering from the path that the game sets for you is just a recipe for absolute being lost. There's no way to know where you're going. But it was a fun diversion. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And it's a nice little, probably 4 or 5 hours total, if that. I'm not very good at judging how long games are when they are less than 10 hours. To be honest, I'm not very good at judging how long games are ever. At all.
Yeah.
But particularly when there's not like a save menu that's telling me exactly how long I've played every time I save. The movement of the game is really satisfying, and the getting bigger of your creature is really satisfying. And there is kind of a difficulty curve at the end. I think on the show I talked about how for the most part the game felt pretty easy. Which was I think true for the first 2/3. And then there started to be some puzzles that were a little bit more difficult. Now, I have a feeling, and granted, this is, if you were a person who plays on your computer with any regularity, I don't doubt that if I played on my computer, I would find it not as easy as the Switch. But put that aside. If you are a person who plays games on your computer more often than like twice a year, like me, I think that some of the movement would probably be easier and more precise, like on the computer, using a mouse.
Sure.
Some of that, I did have some trouble sometimes once my thing got very big with moving as precisely as I wanted to, which is not a big deal most of the time, but is a big deal when there are these traps that you can set off at the end that trigger like 10 times the enemies coming at you. And you're just like accidentally moving a tentacle too far. Look, I get it. The hazards of being a giant biomass
Yeah, how you supposed to keep track of all those tentacles?
It's difficult, believe me. But yeah, overall, nice little, I'd call it a twist of an ending, but it's probably exactly what you would think it would be. And all the segments where you walk around as a little dude kind of come back full circle at the end. That's the spoiler. But I would recommend it. I think that I paid more for it than I would recommend that you pay for it, listener. Not that I paid that much for it, but it's definitely the kind of game that I would say, hey, pick it up on a sale if you want a nice little diversion. So, overall, a nice, satisfying first finish, I think. Alright, I'll throw the game ball over to you.
Sure. Well, my first finish of the year, I played a little, adventure game called Unreal Life. I had seen it on a few end-of-year lists from just people I follow. I was like, oh, what's that? So I picked it up, because it wasn't that expensive, and it looked cool. So Unreal Life is about, you play as Hal, who is a girl who wakes up in the middle of the street, who can't seem to remember anything about where she got there. She can remember that there's a Miss Sakura that she's trying to find. And you make friends with a talking traffic light who's there to assist you.
Sure.
And point you in the correct direction.
That's normal.
Yeah. And you also have the ability that when you touch things, you can see, memories of those things. So you can see what sort of previously transpired near that object as well. And you use that to sort of solve puzzles. Alongside the more traditional, picking items up and using them. I enjoyed it. It definitely, adventure games always have that, little jank to me of just, when you can't figure it out, it feels so frustrating. So there's definitely a few times where I had to walk through, load it up so that I could, scroll through it and check where I was just to see. It wasn't helped that, her walking speed is not that fast, and sometimes you have to traverse the length of the screen to do things. So I would have appreciated a run button, but oh well. But I really liked the sort of pixely sort of aesthetic of it, and I really liked the world. It's got the helpful talking traffic light. One of the little side missions you can do is in your mysterious hotel room that you sort of find yourself in. There's a video game in there that you can play the traffic light in. And as you play it more and more, it updates its game playing functions, so it gets better and better at it. When you first start playing it, you also don't remember how to read yet.
Oh, well, that would be hard.
When you're setting it up the first time, you're like, wow, I wonder what I'm doing, which is fun. And then when you learn to read, that clears up for you. Related to that, you can also find a skeleton man on a bridge who really is into art, and if you bring him artwork that reminds him of things, he'll tell you tips about the game and how to be better at it.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, it's good. I like the sort of throw anything at the wallness of it, and it still works, right? There's a penguin friend. I think the kitchen owner is a moss ball in a fish tank. That sort of stuff. It's good. And I think that it worked up to a relatively poignant conclusion as well. About valuing yourself and telling stories and stuff like that. It's good.
Where can we get this game, Emma?
I played it on the Switch, and it's also on Steam.
Nice. I just hadn't heard of it, so sounds neat. Alright, time for Yakuza Hour, episode 20,000.
Strap in, folks.
Alright, this time, if you listened the last 6 weeks, you knew that I had finished Yakuza 3 and I had just barely started Yakuza 4, so I made sure that I finished Yakuza 4 in time for this 6 weeks, just so we could have a neat little goal for myself in this 6-month-long winter.
So you finished it?
I did.
Wow.
I did.
Good
I
job.
did. I think I've been debating about it. I think it's my second favorite in the series. I really do think Zero is going to be the best. I think it's going to be difficult to top that game. We'll see. But I do think that this one tops Kiwami 2. I think. Because they really lean into telling a very big, bombastic story, and in a very Nomura way. I hate to say that. Of being like, what little things from the first game can we bring back here to be super relevant and plot important? In a way that I was like, wow, that was kind of fun that you went back to the money falling from the tower, and like, what even was that money? Because frankly, I was content to just be like, oh, there was money that was stolen from the Tojo clan. I didn't need the explanation that it was going to be funneled to the police to fund, like, a private prison where they can capture Yakuza from crimes that they have staged and torture them there and extort them for more money.
Wow, jeez.
I know. Not the best prison. Saejima does manage to break out of it after about a day. But
He like fights a bear at one point though, right? So
yes, that's
I'm not
true.
sure if they were prepared for Saejima.
He is very large. I can't emphasize that enough. Very large man. Not sure how he was able to eat that much in prison for 25 years to maintain that level of bulk. But somehow he did. And yeah, just the twist of it. The like, okay, some spoilers for Yakuza 4. I don't think anything I've said so far, all I've said so far spoils up to the first, like, minute of playing as Saejima, basically. He's gonna escape jail. So hopefully, probably you already knew that just from being exposed to, like, memes.
Sure.
But, now more spoilers. The fact that he got set up to think he murdered 18 men, but instead he shot them all with rubber bullets. And also then everyone's like, you're an innocent man. It's like, well, is he though?
I feel like that's still attempted murder.
It's definitely still attempted murder. Now look, he had already served 25 years. Maybe we can say that that's enough for that.
Yeah.
Still a
They just don't want to deal
twist.
with putting him back in jail. They're like, I don't think we can have him in jail.
Yeah.
He's too large.
At the end, it really looked for a moment like he was going to be the chairman of the Tojo clan. It was just him getting a family of his own. But Kiryu thoroughly kicked Daigo's butt at the end of this game. And I really thought Daigo was going to be like, I'm done with this. But he wasn't. But yeah, I enjoyed, I think I don't know if I mentioned this to you or if I mentioned this on the show or whatever. But in this one, right, you play as 4 separate characters. So you play as Akiyama, the moneylender, thanks to Kiryu's big explosion 4 years ago or whatever. You play as Saejima, the escaped convict / Majima's blood brother. That part, you know, there was not really any tension to, like, what happened in their story, I'll say. Because, of course, Zero already kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that would have been a more suspenseful reveal in the original game. And then you play as Tanemura, who I've read pretty much disappears from the series. Probably because the original actor is one of those cocaine actors who then disappears from all Japanese media.
Oops.
So it's a new model and a new voice actor for the remaster.
Oh, I remember hearing about that, I think. Yeah.
Which is too bad, because he's sort of a fun character who it looked like was going to be, like, Date's partner in crime. Partner in not crime. Partner in law, rather. So yeah, he's a cop. He's the parasite of Kamurocho. He's kind of a bad cop, but he's got ideals. And then, of course, you play as Kiryu. Yeah. You get to fight Kiryu as Saejima, which is sort of fun in the second chapter. He did almost kick my butt, so it was realistic.
Yeah. Sounds right.
And my big complaint throughout was like, oh man, this is moving too fast. I keep accidentally advancing the main story, and I haven't been able to, like, pace it in the way that I wanted to complete the side quests. That is still sort of a complaint. Like, I enjoyed I liked having something different in my life, that I play the game where I play as a different, like, kicky boy or punchy boy or judo boy or big boy. in my game as opposed to just Kiryu. But I do still have that critique a little bit. Fortunately, as I kind of predicted, the game did give me an opportunity at the end for everybody to run errands and hit the convenience store before they went to the climax. Would you have guessed it? On top of the Millennium Tower.
What? The Millennium Tower? No way.
They're actually, I'm sort of wrong. I think of all games as ending there, but they actually just all end on top of various tall buildings. This one psyched me out because there was like a fake climax on top of Kamurocho Hills. And I was like, oh, tall building. Fighting through a whole clan to get there. This is the end.
Yeah.
But it was not the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, since game 1, it actually hasn't been on top of Millennium Tower. But we went back for this, for our like 4-part, everybody gets to kick the butt of the person who it would be thematically resonant for them to kick the butt of. But I will say, the fight at the end with the corrupt police chief was awful. Generally the worst. The dodging, the ability of these enemies to dodge me seems like it needed to be taken down a couple notches once I killed their boss. Not killed their boss. Humiliated their boss by dropping pamphlets exposing his corruption from, you guessed it, Date in a helicopter. That's 4 games running. He didn't bring Haruka this time, which was a bit of a disappointment, I have to say. Usually she comes to watch her surrogate father be about to die from a distance.
Good. Date was finally like, maybe we cannot traumatize the child this time.
It's fine. Haruka went through a lot this game already. She had to, like, welcome into her home the man who stabbed Kiryu at the end of game 3. And then she sat with him at his deathbed as he died. And then called Kiryu to relay the news. So she went through enough, I think.
Yeah.
She didn't need to come in that helicopter, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, looks like they're moving back to Kamurocho. Looks like Kiryu's done running, so fend for yourself, kiddos. Have fun at the orphanage. Daddy's going back to the mob.
They can take care of themselves now, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as usual, I kind of ruined the pacing of it at the end by doing a ton of side quests. That's my own fault. But I sort of wish they had put that before the, like, fake climax. I wish we had gone through one incredibly long cutscene labyrinth straight through to the end. I think it would have felt a little better than all of us mourning the death of an important character and then running around doing nonsense for a few hours and then returning. So on to 5. My report on 5. Coming probably next time. Or should I play Dead Souls?
Hard to choose, yeah.
It does take place directly after 4. Available on PS3.
It takes, like, it's in the timeline? I just sort of assumed that
It's non-canon, but it takes place a year after the events of Yakuza 4, from what I've read.
I assumed it was non-canon, but it's funny to think that, like, it has a place in the timeline.
Well, I think Saijima's out of jail, so they'd want to explain that.
Okay, sure.
You wouldn't want people wondering, like, how'd that happen?
Yeah, I definitely need some internal logic in my zombie spin-off.
That one will be genuine PS3, though, and I don't know. I gotta think about it, I don't know.
You'll get to it one day. Maybe you should finish the whole series and then come back to it for pure jank.
That's valid. I hope by then... They had another survey out, Sega, about Yakuza. So I hope that means they're bringing the samurai ones over.
Yeah.
So then I'll never be done with the series.
Then you'll just, last forever.
Okay, that's it. I recommend 4. Don't start there. I don't recommend it as a place to start. It's a good game. A lot of what's good about it is that it's quite self-referential.
Yes. Well, since you did your long one, or your longer one, I'll talk about my long one. It's Trails. Did you just say that's what you think?
Yeah. Is Yakuza the game I spent the most time playing? Unclear. Go on.
Oh boy.
It's fine.
Oh dear. But I'll just move on, I guess, to Trails of Cold Steel 3, which I am about almost 70 hours into, and I think I probably have 20 hours left or so. So it's going places. So if you don't remember, I played Trails of Cold Steel 1 about this time last year, and then Cold Steel 2 like through the summer, I think, if I'm remembering the timeline of that correctly. And then I took a well-earned break because the end of Trails of Cold Steel 2 was just god-awful. I'm sorry, it was the worst. But it turns out these games are on a nice little, like, zoomy curve, right? Like, Trails of Cold Steel 1, I started out less than impressed with it, and then it got better as it went along, right? Like, going up the zoomy
I understand.
curve.
What you were looking at, the word you were looking for was sine wave. But go on. Zoomy curve.
up the zoomy curve. 2, I started out thinking this is really promising, and then went slowly down, and then at the epilogue, really plummeted, like 0 degrees down. And this one started out a little rough, to be honest. But it has slowly risen in my estimation as we've continued. And I'm honestly enjoying it so far. I don't want to pretend that, like, every issue I have with the series is, like, gone in this one, because it's definitely not. There's definitely some things that are just ingrained in it and will always be frustrating or creepy or weird. But so the premise of Cold Steel 3 is there's been about a year time skip since the end of 2. Reen has graduated from school and is going immediately to being a teacher at his school's new branch campus. So not the main campus, the branch one. And he's been spending a year, like, just doing things for the government. The government's kind of evil.
Nice.
Spending
a year of villainy. Good.
They annexed a neighboring country, and then within the time skip, they also annexed another neighboring country. So they're rather expansionist, and Reen has been guiltily helping out with that. But the main premise is that he's now an instructor, and he is the teacher for a new Class 7, which starts out as 3 people and then grows to 5 in Chapter 3. Very small class. And what's really great about it is that they're, like, characters.
Wow.
So
the bar
if
has been set incredibly high, I take it.
So if I may go on a bit of a spiel.
That's fine.
Reen is a wish fulfillment protagonist, right? But not, like, in the pure video game way of, like, the Persona protagonists. He's more of the wish fulfillment one you would find in, like, a TV show or a movie or something. Because he has some established character, right? Like, he has his name and relationships and stuff. But he's sort of meant to be a figure to project yourself on. But because Reen doesn't, like, fulfill any of my wishes, right? I'm not the target audience for Reen's wish fulfillment. He very much doesn't work for me as a character.
Right.
Which I think I've expressed several times.
Yes, maybe just a few.
And an issue I find looking back at, like, 1 and 2 is that the games are very locked into Reen's perspective. The only times it shifts away from his perspective is to, like, the villains to deliver plot information that you need to know, right? It's not really, like, to see things through their perspective. It's just to communicate to the player, like, events that are happening or whatever. And everything else is very much, like, about Reen. And something that I found a little frustrating with, like, his classmates, like your main cast of characters, is it felt like, because Reen's a wish fulfillment protagonist, all of their most important relationship is always with Reen. Which is sort of fine, but it felt like sort of he was like this black hole sucking, like, all the relationship into himself. Like, all the girls have to want to date him because they all have to be romantic options for the player, and all the guys have to want to be his best friend, right? So, coming out of 2, like, there are plot important relationships, but it doesn't feel like any of the rest of his class had just developed, like, dynamics with each other that were interesting. With, like, one exception that's now been explored in 3 a lot more, and you can tell that it's, like, way more interesting than the relationships any of the rest of the class have with each other. So, like, just, like, a good example is, like, Eustace and Machias are, like, noble and commoner guy, and they have, like, a combative relationship between in 1 and 2 that's sort of thematically important. But even if they're, like, now they're friends, like, their relationship isn't, like, interesting, I guess, is what I'd say. Or all that's interesting about their relationship is, like, filtered through Reen's perspective. Like, the healing of their relationship is done all by Reen. So even as that relationship happens, like, Reen's still the most important relationship there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, while I appreciated certain members of that class as, like, individual characters, I never felt like the group dynamic that I think the game wanted me to feel and was relying on for the end of 2, which is maybe part of why it really did not work. But 3 takes the perspective away from Reen pretty often, and not just to the villains, but to the members of his new class. There's various gameplay segments where he is separated from them, and you just have the students as your party, and are going through things. And there's various scenes where his students just, like, sit and talk to each other about things, like, which mech do you like? Stuff like that just wasn't present in the first game, I feel like, which makes them feel like they have a group dynamic, and therefore makes them, like, instantly more endearing to me. Like, I like all these new characters. Part of it is, like, they hit just, like, Emma's trope bingo of, like, things I like. Like, we've got very small girl who's learning to emotion. We have smart, angry, sassy boy. We've got insecure boy with body image issues. We've got angry girl. I love angry girl. And we've got secretive girl. Spooky girl. Mysterious girl. I like that too. And it's fun. They have fun dynamic with each other. And that's all I really want, you know?
You're
it's
making
good.
me think of the meme that went around a few weeks ago that's like, my child is fine. Your child's favorite trope is...
Yeah. That's about right. But yeah, just fixing, like, that simple, like, relationshipness feels like it's fixed a lot of, like, the moment-to-moment experience of the game. And also, I have turned Ash into an evasion power tank who can take out half an enemy's HP in a single hit, because nothing can hit him, because he has, like, 65% evasion or something. And that's very satisfying for me. And he also has 65% evasion, and then a quartz that, like, 600% his damage when he counterattacks after evading.
Wow.
So
Speedy
I just broke the game, basically, is what I'm saying. And that is also very satisfying to me.
I feel like I see another on-topic corner coming soon. It's literally just
I don't
pulling
think
the audio
so.
from this podcast.
I enjoyed making the one for 2, for the one for this series before, but the experience afterwards was less fun. I don't, I'd rather stay away from the fandom of these games. The Reens out there. That's uncharitable, but yeah. But anyway, I'm almost, like, probably a third of the way into chapter 4, which is the last full-size chapter, I think. So, things are gonna get wild and crazy.
I feel like last time, though, you texted me no less than 7 times being like, I think I'm almost at the end. And then there was the finale, and then there was the super finale,
See,
and there was the ultra finale.
I have a walkthrough pulled up, okay? And the next one's called Final Chapter, and there's nothing after that.
Gotcha.
Unlike 2, where there was, like, Final Chapter, Divestment, and Epilogue.
Another lesson learned, I guess. What the word final means.
But unfortunately, because we're on a zoomy zoom curve, I am a little concerned that since this one seems like it'll be ending on a high note, that 4 will be this lesson in pain. But, like, not in a good way.
Incredible.
Anyway, that's where I am. I'll hopefully have finished 3 by the time we do this again, and then I'm going to take a little break, and then play 4, like, over the summer, maybe. So, look forward to it.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, speaking of games that are built on relationships, and another game that I started playing for the podcast and have continued to play. I've actually continued to play way more games than I usually do, the 6 weeks, for whatever reason. It's Bugsnax.
Bugsnax.
No, you can't do that.
I just did 2 notes. It's fine.
You're right. Fine. You're right. I feel like they were recognizable. So yeah, Bugsnax, as we discussed, I mean, the characters here are really, really what shine. By the characters, I mean exclusively Shishkabug. 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 Shishkabug.
Not even Bunger. Bunger
too.
Bunger.
My boyfriend and I were trying to do, like, as many of the sounds as we could remember today.
Bopsicles!
Oh, that's a good one, too. I hate the Bopsicles. And their
Bopsicle!
Their Paletas cousins. Anyway, yeah, like, as I said, the characters here are really doing a lot of the work in making me want to keep playing this game. The mechanics are not that deep. I've played a few sort of, like, boss fight Bugsnax now. The Mega Maki, which is this giant sushi roll thing, and the Mama Melon, which is a giant watermelon.
Melwin.
I don't know why they did it that way, but they did choose that. And it's just, I'm glad to see the characters, like, all caring about each other and figuring out their relationships. And I thought that I understood that the bro and the conspiracy theorist were, like, together, but apparently they're just, like, they love each other, but they're, like, not partners. It's confusing. But lots of good grumpuses running around, and it's really scratching that gotta catch 'em all itch, but in a way that feels, like, possible, which is dangerous, I think, for me. Because, like, I'm very into that with Pokemon Sword when I was playing whenever that was, like, a year and change ago. But that one has a lot of Pokemon. And this one only has, like, 100. And I just got the achievement that I've caught at least half of them. So we're making progress, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. A Bugsnax I would recommend as well. So far anyway. It's not a children's game, I think, in the end. Some of the themes are a little heavy, and the Illuminati are referenced directly. So we're gonna call it not a children's game. It's gonna be
Does the Illuminati make it not a children's game?
The Grumpinati? Yeah, I think so.
Why does that make it not a children's game? Like, specifically the Illuminati?
I don't know. He's got, like, 5G towers on his conspiracy board.
As soon as there's a triangle in your game, that's not for children.
I don't know. I just felt like that and, like, the major depression faced by Eggabell, apparently, and all of that. I'm like, I don't think this is actually targeted at children.
Not even, like, in a teaching children about... not the Illuminati, I guess, but not even in a teaching children about, like, complicated feelings kind of way.
I mean, I don't know. We're gonna see. I don't know what has happened to Eggabell and Lisbert yet. So we're gonna see what has happened to them, and then maybe I will decide if it's a children's game. But I don't know. Yeah, I can't decide which one of them is my favorite. They all are sad. The poor things.
Yeah.
I did like catching Cromdo doing the wiggle. Pretty good. I'd like to hear more of the Wiggle song. I hope at the end that Wiggle comes up with the Bugsnax theme. I really feel like that is what the game is building for. It's Wiggle's next hit song being Whoa Whoa, it's Bugsnax. But yeah, really enjoying it. Again, the puzzling of it, in some ways, is kind of appealing that it's not too hard to catch a bunch of new Bugsnax. On the other hand, you know, it's not that precise. Now that I have a tripwire, it's mostly just I get the thing to run in the tripwire and I hope it's not on fire or it's like impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're having a good time with our snacks.
Sounds good.
Oh, and I had to gather the poop of a Bugsnax. So maybe it is not of a Bugsnax, of a Grumpus, after they used the outhouse.
Why?
Because the farmer needed it for fertilizer.
Oh,
I fed Filbo a potato, so the fiber would make him need to go. And then I gathered the fertilizer, and
Filbo.
It didn't work, so oh well. That's my review of Bugsnax.
I don't like that. Okay. So I've also just started playing Heaven's Vault on my Switch, which is a game where you're, I guess, like an archaeologist in sort of like this, it's a made-up world, but you are sort of looking into ruins and stuff like that. And then one day you get a call to your university, and sort of like your mentor tasks you with one of the other professors at the university has like gone missing and left behind just like a brooch. But he's not like an archaeologist professor, so it's not clear why like he's looking at this ancient artifact stuff. So you're sent after him, along with your robot friend.
Of course.
These robots seem to have been dug out of the ground, not like built. So there's something weird up with that. But yeah, so your robot friend, who you've named Six because he's your sixth robot.
Creative.
You've lost the other ones. Your character is not fond of the robots currently. But the main mechanic of it is like going to these different places and finding examples of this sort of ancient script that you are like in the process of trying to translate. And by like the context of where the message is, it'll come up with like the words, and then like for each word segment you'll have like a few different guesses of what it could be. So you try to like put it together based on like context and sort of what you think it could say. And then once you use that a few times like correctly, I assume it doesn't just lock it in when it's incorrect, but it's also possible it's doing that, who knows. It'll be like, I'm confident in this translation now, and it'll automatically fill that in when you find it in any other inscriptions that you find. And sort of by using these inscriptions and looking around different new areas in pursuit of this guy, you discover what he was doing, essentially. He's probably dead. We found his crashed ship. But then, when we tried to hopper, which is just like teleport back to our ship, Six's head disappeared, and then the robot body talked to me like it was this guy we were trying to find, and he said that a great darkness is coming. So that's ominous.
Take that as you will.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it so far. I do have to play it docked because I have to use my Pro controller because the drift is really super bad on this
Oof.
one, and unfortunately there's no options to, like, set a dead zone or anything, so it's a docked game. Unfortunately, I think it would be nice to play it handheld, but oh well. And I'm enjoying it. It feels like once you leave some locations, you can't go back to them, even though, like, it feels like you should be able to sometimes, which is a little unfortunate, because, like, I just got this laborer who was working for Renba, this guy we're trying to find, to take him to where Renba's paying him to dig, and instead of looking in the tent, I wandered off path a little bit, and we found this laborer's friend who said, hey, we're going to steal your ship from you and leave you here. So we just had to teleport back to the ship immediately instead of looking around. And now I can never go back there and know what was in the tent, even though it feels like I should be able to. But, oh well. So there is a little bit of that. And unfortunately, there's, like, absolutely no manual save, I assume, so that you can't just, like, cheat.
Right.
And go back when you miss things. Because I assume it's a purposeful part of the design. I question the decision made there, because I'm not gonna play it again, right? Like, there's too many games. I'm pretty sure it's like a 20. How long to beat has it at, like, 20 hours for main stories? So it feels like it's pretty long. So I'm not gonna play it again. But I am enjoying the mechanic of translating a lot. And looking around and trying to figure that sort of stuff out. So I'm enjoying it. I just wish... I don't understand why... Well, I do, but I wish developers leaned more towards player-friendly choices rather than player-unfriendly choices, even if it's for a narrative purpose, you know? Like, if you don't want me to go back, at least let me make manual saves, so if I'm accidentally say, let's go back to the ship 6, because they ask you, like, every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then I can go back. That would be nice. That's all. Also, I have no idea when it autosaves, so I live in fear every time I close it that I'm going to lose tons of progress.
Yeah, it does feel like if you're making a choice with the express goal of, you know, I don't want a few people to kind of brute force and cheat this. It's like, well, is that really worth it?
Yeah.
Those people who want to cheat are going to find a way to cheat anyway. And who cares? It's a single-player game.
Yeah. But I'm just, like, 3 or 4 hours into it right now. So we're still figuring out what's happening, I guess. And still lots of stuff to do. So I'll also report back on that in another 6 weeks.
Nice. How many more on your list?
I just have the games from the racial justice bundle.
Cool, I have 2. So I'll do a quick one first. Despite talking last week about how it was not really my kind of game, I have played some more Spelunky 2 since then.
Wow.
We found it to be a good trading off game. Josh and I did experiment with doing the 2-player at a time thing, but as some other reviews mentioned, the fact that the screen can't really move with both of you is a frustrating dynamic.
Yeah.
Our TV is probably not really large enough that split screen would have been awesome either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, it wasn't as fun as playing single player and doing it half the time. It just felt like, yeah, we did a lot of accidentally hitting each other, basically. So it was fine. It was not fun. But I would recommend, if you're going to be playing it with someone else, that you do it as a trading off thing, not as a, like, 2 people playing. I don't know what it would be like if there were 4. I feel like if it was 4, it would be chaos. But maybe that would be fun. That would probably be more fun than trading off between 4 people, if that's the situation that you are in. But I am, again, despite last week saying, oh, I don't enjoy games where I have to work to get better, I do feel like I'm getting a little better. I am more consistently making it to the last level of the first world, where I am then often killed by the big boss dude. But that's okay. And between the 2 of us, we've now gotten it so you can take a shortcut to the second world. So I am thinking I will keep playing, and maybe I will practice a bit in the volcano world, because basically as soon as we get to the volcano world, every time we die, because there is lava everywhere and everything is on fire. But, you know, I'm pushing myself to play a game that I would sometimes not have pushed myself to keep playing. It's been fun. I've been enjoying it. It does still have the problem of a lot of, like, grunting and cursing when the game is played. So it's a frightening game to listen to someone play from the other room.
Right.
Like, did they hurt themselves?
Right, yeah. You should come up with, like, a code word. Like, when you're playing a frustrating video game, but you've actually accidentally broken your thumb or something.
Right, good. I'm glad
like
you decided the code word was going to be for actual pain, because I was going to say, absolutely, yeah, there's no way I would be able to stick to that with video games, but you're right, that if I did actually snap a bone in two, I could say banana split.
Yeah. That's a little dark.
I did think about this the other day. I really
My
did.
bone's gone banana split.
It was just the first thing that came to mind.
No, I think you should set that system up so you don't have to worry, right? Like, someone's coming through the window, you yell, goldfish, you know?
Oh, boy. Yeah, a whole series of code words for just awful situations. You're absolutely right. Oh.
It's important.
But yeah, we've been doing a lot. I mean, it's kind of in the vein of Super Monkey Ball, right? Where we were, like, trading off on this kind of frustrating game. This is definitely harder than... Well, in some ways, anyway, it's definitely harder than Super Monkey Ball. But, you know, still trucking along.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I kept playing a game from all three shows this time, which I think is a first.
So my last little segment, after a few months of not doing any, I went back to all the games that I got from the Racial Justice Bundle from Itch, like a year ago now?
No, 6 months ago. 8 months ago. It's February.
A year ago-ish, whatever, it's fine. One of my New Year's resolutions is to try to check out one every Monday. So, I have a few New Year's resolutions, so this one started a little later than some of the other ones, because I was, like, staggering them so that I wouldn't, like, overwhelm myself the first week. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. So I just have 3 that I've played from this bundle. The first one I tried out, Spring Falls, which is sort of like one of those relaxing puzzle games. You're supposed to help the flowers bloom by, like, guiding the water to it, by, like, raising or lowering different platforms, without making the water run off the side of the cliff, basically. So that was fun. All puzzle games are going to frustrate me eventually, but I went going for, like, 30 or 40 levels for this one, so I enjoyed it. It was soothing. Then I played If Not Us, which is like an anthology of text adventures. You have, like, 5 heroes set in, like, this fantasy world, and they've sort of, like, failed in their quest, basically. So each one of them has their own little story that are different forms of text adventure, that you can play through and sort of get a fuller picture of what happened to them and their relationship to each other. It's neat. There's one that's, like, purely text-based, where you have to, like, type in the action, that I could not figure out how to progress after a certain while. But I appreciate the ambition, and I liked the other 4, so I enjoyed playing it. And then I played Croissants. You are a croissant bot tasked with serving croissants. But you also have to keep yourself alive by eating croissants.
Oh, that's freaky.
And you also have, like, a timer to keep yourself going. And there's different levels of, you know, trying to make the right croissants, eat the croissants, send the croissants, deal with the croissants, and, you know, work your croissant life. Yeah, so those are the 3 that I played. Just a reminder that all of these are from the bundle that Itch did to benefit different racial justice organizations like the NAACP. So if you hear about any of these, you're like, I'll play that. Think about, in addition to playing that, throwing a donation over. Or just do it anyway. Also.
If you think about throwing a donation, maybe you should.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, last but not least, speaking of puzzle games, I think potentially the game that I spent the most time on these past 6 weeks, maybe, I don't know, I played a lot of Yakuza, so take this with a grain of salt, is Baba Is You.
Oh, wow.
One of Clickbait Boyfriend's philosopher friend colleagues has been recommending Baba Is You to him for like a year. Well, they've been writing... He's so behind on the show, he won't listen to this forever. Well, they've been writing this paper that has been taking them 20 years to write. This guy has been recommending Baba Is You to him over and over and over again. And so we finally caved and got it. Because, of course, it is the kind of game that would appeal to philosophers, I think. And I know we played, like, probably 5 hours of it at some point over some break.
Yeah, I own it.
And, yeah, Josh and I have now gotten through working together, right? Pretty much all of the regular and the, like, regular challenge levels. With a little cheating, right?
It's fine.
You know, I think we probably finished at least 80% of the levels without needing to cheat at all. And then maybe an additional 10 to 15% using some light hints from... Shout out to Baba Is Hint. Website, very good. It has like levels of hints that it gives you to help you solve the level, and really only a couple of levels did we actually cave and say we're gonna look up how to solve this. It's driving us nuts. This game was bad for us though, I have to say, in that it's the kind of game that you're like, I'm just gonna play a little bit of it, and then that's fine. You get through like 5 levels, you figure them out really quick, and then on the 6th level you get stuck and you stare at it forever, and all of a sudden it is very late. So we're currently stuck on like the end level. Of course, we've also unlocked what seems to be like a secret end game set of levels that we haven't really looked at yet. But right now we're stuck on the end level, and I just can't. We've looked at, like, we've kind of taken a break from it, which is good, I think, which is very good. But yeah, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. It's very frustrating, and I don't want to use the hints on the last level. It's very frustrating. If you're not familiar with this game, it's a game, basically it's a word manipulation game where you are moving blocks around with the goal of winning each level, where you have to set up, flag is win, or Baba, the sheep, is win, or something like that. The big brain energy when you do figure one out is very good. Is it worth the amount of time that I've spent staring at levels? Good question. But it was a good thing for us to have to, like, be engaging throughout the very long January. So I'm glad that we started it and played through it so much. And I'm also glad we've taken a bit of a break from it. I think I'll come back refreshed and recharged and ready to tackle this end game sometime in the coming months. But would still recommend it. Good game. It's in some kind of bundle at Humble right now, I think. I saw it getting advertised as being on sale. So, pick it up. If you haven't, it is quite good. Yeah. Not only for philosophers.
If it's on Steam, it's the Lunar New Year sale.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I think it's everywhere.
It might also be on sale there.
The moon sale. So that's all I've played.
And that's it for me, too.
Coming up the next 6 weeks, you can bet on Yakuza 5. Probably. Unless I do Dead Souls.
I've got Persona 5 Scramble coming, so I probably will have started that.
That's never going to go on sale, right?
I mean, it is on PlayStation 4, too, so...
Oh. Maybe it will go on sale.
I'm getting the Switch version just because I like the idea of holding it. I don't know. But yeah, it is on PS4, so that one's likely to go on sale.
Okay. Then I might wait a little bit, because I was like, if it's never going to go on sale, I'm going to get it right when it comes out. Because what's the harm? But I probably will wait. CBB has started to dangle playing Royal for his next blog series.
Oh.
I don't know if he's serious, though.
Will he not be driven insane by the young?
By the young?
Doesn't he not like Jungian stuff? Like,
oh, yeah,
isn't that what it is?
But he watched me play plenty of Persona. He'll just make snarky comments about it, which is really the whole ethos of the series. I think if he does it, I'll report back in 6 weeks if he actually does this, or if we decide to do something else. But I do think it'll have to be Champ McTwode.
No. Right? No. It doesn't have to be.
Doesn't it, though?
No one's making you.
Doesn't it have to be? Anyway, he may not do it, and more power to him if he doesn't, but we'll see. We'll see. So, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another side quest episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
If you enjoyed what you listened to today, you should check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast, where you can stay tuned for all the latest updates on the show. And also, it'll keep you up to date on the happenings on our blog, our website, but mostly our blog, www.talkthispodcast.com. There, in addition to the blog, you can read all about the show, check out the games that are in the hat that we pull from our main episodes, read an outdated Q&A, all the good stuff, plus the blog, featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend, where up to this point my boyfriend has played games from the Kingdom Hearts series, which will wrap up very soon with the rest of the Melody of Memory posts. And then, who knows? Something to fill the gap before the new The World Ends With You game comes out, aka Kingdom Hearts 3.1. What was I saying? Oh, last but not least, and most importantly, if you enjoy the show, you should subscribe to the show if you haven't already. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, wherever you find podcasts. If it's not on that list, and you have found us somewhere if you're listening to this, you can find Talk This. Next week, we are definitely talking about a couple of games.
We're talking about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and we're talking about Genshin Impact, which is the one Madelyn will probably be playing.
Right, Madelyn will get deep into gacha. It's very deep.
You'll just become like a stereotypical gamer household with Clickbait Boyfriend on Apex Legends and you on Genshin.
A couple days ago, he won 3 games in a single day.
Wow. Yeah. You're on the way there.
Which means that he will never stop playing this game.
You're going to become filthy casual gamers. You know?
That's another thing. I watched a lot of Apex. He's now switched to playing the new character, Fuse. Fuse, whose character trait seems to be, 1, he's Australian, 2, he's in his 50s?
What else do you need?
A lot of his dialogue is about being in his 50s.
What else do you need?
And I'm like, why is that his character trait, that he's middle-aged? That's my Apex hot take for these 6 weeks. Yeah, next week, stay tuned for me doing the I have $3 SpongeBob meme once I've gotten very into gacha in Genshin Impact.
Exciting. We'll get excited.
But yeah, our whole 6 weeks starts over again next time. And so we'll get playing in preparation for our next recap episode, which will be, I guess, at the end of March. That is when 6 weeks is.
Yep.
Ish. Well, folks.
Do you want to sign us off?
Now we have to try to do the exact same sign off at the exact same time. Because we jinxed each other. All right,
I don't know what you're going to say. Give me a hint.
I know, you give me a hint. I think I can read your mind better.
No, I have no ideas. That's why I wanted you to do it, Madelyn.
Okay, so the hint is I have no ideas. Listeners, I hope you're not doing it with me. Whatever, fine. Listeners, I hope that you have a week that's filled with ideas and that you are the croissants that eat croissants, not the croissants that are eaten.